Hey, is the Idaho housing bubble about to pop? We'll stick around. Dave and I are going to talk it through today and let you know. Hey, if this is your first time on the channel, be sure to subscribe, tap that notifications bell so you can stay up to date on all of our latest content. Our team gets calls, texts, and emails every single day from people just like you that are trying to learn more about North Idaho. So if you're looking to move right now or 12 months from now, it doesn't matter. Give us a holler. Let's get the conversation started. And let's jump into the video right now. All right, hey, we're going to jump into this video. Dave and I are going to talk back and forth quite a bit. We're going to share some numbers with you. We are also anecdotally going to speak on this topic of the real estate bubble here in North Idaho, whether it exists or not, whether it's going to pop or not. We do quite a bit of business up here.
Yeah.
To the tune of 100 million last year for our team, somewhere in that. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying that to tell you that we are qualified to talk on this. So we're going to give you some relevant information and go from there. But first, I wanted to define what a real estate bubble is. It refers to, this is straight from the interwebs, you're welcome, the sudden and sharp decline in real estate prices after they have inflated rapidly and unsustainably beyond their actual value. That sounds familiar to me. That sounds like, what, 2022?
Yeah, well, I mean, the inflation does, but the bubble, I mean, you look back and everybody wants to cite 2006, 2008, that time, right? When I bought my first house, and then all of a sudden it was worth nothing. So yeah, I mean, we've definitely had an incline, and you know, we're going to get into the reasons why that stuff happens. But you know, the biggest factor that I think a lot of people, and we can't even say it on the podcast, but the biggest factor was what happened, you know, globally during 2020 and 2021.
Yes. Would you say in like 2021, 2022 that we saw a rapid increase in prices here in North Idaho?
Oh yeah. No, yeah. It was an unsustainable increase just for the fact that people were trying to get here so quickly, specifically places like North Idaho. There's definitely other places that experienced it. Tennessee, South Carolina had some. I mean, there were other places that people wanted to go to, but North Idaho experienced it pretty significantly, and Southern Idaho, to where you had people that were willing to put up money above and beyond an appraised value of a home. That's not something that you would typically do. You wouldn't go to the store and find a Gatorade and them say it's $3 and you say, well, I think it's worth $4, so I'll give you $4.
Good way to put it.
It doesn't make sense. No. So just the whole, you know, value comes from something that you really, really want. And during that time, people really, really wanted out more than normal. And so because of that, they have continued to, you know, during that time, they were $50,000 over asking.
Yeah.
Over appraised value. I mean, we were writing in contracts as listing agents, right? We were writing in contracts that buyers waive any rights to a low appraisal and agree to cover the difference in appraisal and the loan value. Like, people were willing to literally burn money.
Crazy.
A bank is saying something's worth this, and you say, I'll pay this much.
Right.
The bank's not going to lend that. So
I experienced that personally right after the Paradise fire because, and this is a classic example of really high demand and really low inventory. All of those people from Paradise, Magalia, Concow, they all were trying to buy homes down in Chico because that was the closest big town. We ended up having to pay $50,000 over asking price on a home. We did an inspection, but I didn't have good guidance at that time. We wouldn't have done this. I didn't ask for any repairs. So we just paid 50 grand over and got the home, but we had to do that because we had to beat out other offers.
Right.
It's kind of gross.
Super hard.
It is. And we saw that here in 2022, probably was the peak, right?
Right.
I want to say it was like a 40% increase.
It was close
over a couple of years.
It was close to. I would say probably on average, but I think the majority of homes up here, what they were priced at in 2019, relatively, like I said, I'm talking about the homes that are highly desirable, relatively doubled in price.
Yeah. I
mean, my home, we bought it for $450 in 2019, the one that we were previously at, and we sold it for $825.
Wow.
And that was recently. That was a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right? We weren't even at the peak. When we were at the peak, we were looking at potentially selling it for up to $950.
Wow.
That's more than double what we paid for it. So, I think in the desirable areas, it was as much as double.
That's insane. It has come down a little bit since then, and
Certainly.
we're seeing maybe a little bit of a correction. We'll talk about that more in a minute, but I wanted to give you guys some factors that contribute to inflated demand. These are like traditional factors, not necessarily what we're seeing right now, but things that people talk about when they talk about real estate bubbles. Low mortgage rates. Ooh, we saw that back then for sure. Easy credit. That was more like 2008 type stuff, I would say, not necessarily this time around. I think
a little more stringent now.
Lenders have gotten smarter, right?
Oh, yeah.
Speculative buying, which is like investors buying up properties. Unsustainable demand. So that is one that does apply and potentially still applies right now. So when those things that artificially drive this market, when those disappear or shift, that's when we see a bubble pop. So, and some of those common triggers can be rising interest rates. That sounds familiar. Economic downturn.
Yep.
I don't know if we're there right now. Everybody talks about this.
I don't think we've seen it.
I'm not seeing it.
I think we've seen
here yet.
I think we've seen inflation.
Yeah.
And I don't want to confuse that with an economic downturn, but it absolutely is a factor in it for sure.
Yeah.
We've seen some inflation.
Excessive supply and tightening credit standards. Those are some of the factors that you might see there. So this video, we wanted to address this because I think this is a very common thing. Buyers always want to say that the market's going to crash, and sellers always say the opposite because everybody's manifesting their own reality.
Right. And so I'm gonna touch on that to just give caution to people, because I'm not an investor. I'm not the person that you would call to say, hey, like, what is the best financial decision I can make in buying or selling my home? That honestly, I'm not the person for that. Right. I can give you real-time value, give you a direction and trend in the market. But one of the things that we're running into is that you get told about this bubble burst. So you have two different types of people. You have people like us, and then you have investors, right? You have people that, for the most part, my wealth is tied in with my home, my primary home. If I lose my home, if the value of my home goes away, relatively my net worth goes away. Then you have people that they do have stacks of cash, and they can invest and they can take the risk, right? When you talk about a bubble bursting, people get into an investment mindset. They go, well, I'm going to wait and see what happens. We've seen what happens when people wait, and then all of a sudden the market doesn't go in the direction they want. And here's the thing. If you're sitting on piles of cash, you still win. You can still afford the homes. You can still go in and do those things. But for somebody like me, if I sell my house, throw it all in a bank account right now and say, I'm going to wait for the bubble burst. Well, one, you better be realistic on what a bubble burst is, right? Because to think that the prices are going to go back down to where they were in 2019, I think you're wrong. And my reasoning for that is, just 50 years ago, her grandparents, they built their house, the entire thing for $35,000. It's now, we lived in it for a bit. It's now for sale for like $850,000, $900,000.
Wow.
That is never going to be worth $35,000 again. So what I'm trying to say is, in an abundance of caution to not lose your money by putting it into an account, I think that people that are looking at primary homes need to be very careful to keep their money in the same market. You're not expected to get rich off of your primary home. There's people that, yes, some people will flip, they'll do things, they'll increase the value, they'll make a little money, but ultimately it's about keeping your wealth. So like when we sold our house, we immediately bought in the same market. Whether the market was really high or really low, we still bought in, so our money shifted with the market. And as long as you do that, you hold on to the wealth of your money that is parallel to where everything else is going.
That's a good point. I've had this conversation with sellers recently who are looking to rebuy when they sell, and they're having to be realistic with pricing right now. And we're having to reduce pricing on some of these homes. And that's what I told them. Like, you're in the game. You're riding the roller coaster or the wave or whatever you want to call it. But like, your house comes down a little bit. The house you're going to buy is going to have to be realistic with price too, and they're going to do the same thing. So it's going to be a wash, probably pretty close to it.
But it's one thing to lose some investment money. It's another thing to lose, like, oh my gosh, we went from affording $2,000 is what we could afford. And then all of a sudden now, because we lost value in the money that we sat in the bank, now we have to, $2,000 doesn't buy us what we want anymore. And so now you actually downgrade. So I always say that with an abundance of caution, because here's the other thing that people don't talk about when they talk about a bubble burst. If you expect prices to come down in a true bubble burst, I think inflation has to be considered. You cannot see the prices of homes come down that far when there's so much money in the field, right? In the market. if a gallon of milk right now is $4 and it stays at $4, that's because there's a lot of money out there. So right now, if it bursts, well, how much can it burst? There's too much money that's been poured into the economy. Too much money's been printed. We're not on the gold standard. Our debt's going up, which means that prices of things in general are going to continue to rise. So I don't personally, and we haven't even talked about our opinions on whether or not it is a bubble or not, but I would venture to say that it's more of a correction and it's not a bubble burst. I think we would have seen way more signs of that if it was actually going to be a bubble burst.
Do you think Idaho and North Idaho specifically are insulated from some of this based on how many people are still trying to move here?
Minimally.
Yeah.
Minimally. It's still a desired product, right? When people don't have enough money, they give up the luxuries, right? They give up the things that, you see people turn around and focus on the things that are important. And if moving out of a blue state or moving out of a place that you don't like, I think that Idaho will continue to be desirable for people. So insulated, maybe slightly. I think that, like I said, if the whole market dropped 50%, I could see it dropping 40% here.
Yeah.
I think that type of insulation, just enough to where we're going to maintain a little better than the remainder of the country. So if you sell in California and then you come up here, you're probably going to pay a little more just because of the location. You can go to Tennessee and get yourself 30 acres, but then you have to live in tornadoes and bugs and all that stuff. And
right.
high crime, and it sucks. And Tennessee's a beautiful state. People love moving there.
I do wonder about states like California and Washington and Oregon too. There's others, but those are the obvious ones close to us. Eric says this a lot, and it's smart, that states are competing for like good citizens. And states Idaho are winning. You've got places like we've got multiple clients in California and Washington, for example, that are trying to sell homes and they're sitting on the market for a really long time, and they can't buy here until they sell there. But the point is, there's a lot of people putting their homes on the market down there, which is flooding it with inventory. Are they going to have an issue
selling
with that?
I think so.
And then looking at a potentially, maybe not a full-on bubble burst, but a full-on strong correction in the market down there.
I think there could be, for sure. And a lot of it comes down to a lot of those places, people with wealth are buying more locally than they are somewhere else. We have investors that come up here and buy vacation properties or whatever else. But people normally want their investments close. So the majority of people, maybe not, massive investors, but people want to buy. And there's a lot of people in LA and Seattle, and they want to buy rentals in those areas. And I think the more transition, the more conversion that you see from primary homes to rentals is also going to damage that, because that's your taxpayer base.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be, people won't be able to afford homes, and the people that do are just going to slaughter their cash. And then when you're in a state like Washington, where it benefits you to make more money because it's an income tax free state, how do you get that money back?
Right. Let's look at some numbers. So I did some comparison between Ada County, which is down near Boise, and Kootenai County, which is right here where we are in North Idaho. Median sale price in Ada County, June 2025, approximately $565,000. That's median sale price. That is a 2.4% increase over the past year. Homes are selling in an average of 28 days, which is a little bit better than last year. So let's see. And then comparatively, Kootenai County median sale price June 2025 about $551,000. These numbers sound crazy, by the way.
They absolutely
When I think about my first house that my wife and I bought was $110,000. It's kind of mind blowing to think about that. And I know a lot of people out there are thinking the same thing. Okay, back to Kootenai County median sale price. So that's up 1.6% from last year. Average days on the market 22 days. I don't know if
that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Because we're having a lot of homes sit. Here's the thing. There's a lot of homes that are moving.
In that certain price range, right?
Right. Yeah. There's a certain price range. So I think this is a holistic thing. If you have $1 million house at 22 days on the market is just not realistic.
No.
It's going to sit for 30, 60 days.
Right.
But obviously that's counting everything, and things are more affordable at $400,000, $500,000. So
that's like the starter home up here, which is crazy.
I know.
And when you look at it that way, is that sustainable? Can our kids afford a home here?
There's a redistribution of wealth that's happened.
Yes.
And it's hard because with our kids, How do they ever get into that? How do they become like my wife's grandparents and build a house for $38,000 cash?
I have a prediction that, like I think we're going to see more and more multi-generational living out of necessity, which I don't think is a bad thing. You know, raising your kids with your grandparents in the same house, it has a number of benefits. I don't really know how we got away from that as a society, but I suspect, and we see it up here frequently, people move up here a lot looking for a multi-generational living property that they can all go in together on and afford. But I suspect we're going to see more and more of that.
Yeah.
That is a situation that we've considered with our kids is buy a piece of property where we can build a second home or potentially a third home.
Yeah.
And have them close.
Well, we're with you. We're doing the same type of thing. Shit,
we're all going to do
I'll live. Oh, yeah, you guys can live with us.
North Idaho Experience Compound. I love it, dude.
I think that a lot of people, and we're kind of getting a little off topic here, so sorry, we're just ranting right now.
But not though. It's
it's
valid.
I think it makes a stronger community. People don't live in the same home for 80 years anymore. That doesn't happen. Like, oh, my grandma and grandpa grew up here, and now that this is where they retired at. That doesn't happen. And so I think going back to those types of things, I think it creates a better community.
Yeah.
We've gotten to a point in society where people want to just like, oh, it's, there's no compromise. Well, we don't like it, we'll just move out. Like, that was never a conversation that happened before. Like, you pretty much didn't move out till you got married. Right? Like, and then even after that, maybe you guys stayed together as a family until you're the man of the house and dad's too old. And then you guys take over the same property, right? And you just don't see that stuff anymore. But I think that, having that happen, I love the fact that we can shelter our kids and say, yeah, you can stay here like as long as you want. We're not trying to kick you out. Mm-hmm. Why am I going to tell my kid to go pay $1,250 a month to live in, whatever, an apartment and waste his money when I'm like, well, just save it. Be a productive citizen.
That's exactly.
Otherwise, I'll kick you out.
That's exactly the conversation we've had with our kids. Like, you can stay as long as you want, as long as you're producing,
right,
and bettering yourself.
Going to school, having a job,
right,
doing something.
If you're sitting in your room playing video games, like, no, brother, that ain't happening.
I'll shut the internet down.
Yeah. Okay, let's get. Is a bubble burst imminent? And this may be somewhat anecdotal for us, right?
Yeah.
I think we can speak on this. We are experts in the field. What do you think?
I don't think so. I really don't. I think we've seen the softening. I don't see it really coming down. I mean, there's always something like a recession that could happen, or even a depression, right? I mean, that changes a lot, and that's a global thing. Yeah. If the U.S. goes into a recession or anything else, it's gonna mess with the whole world. But once again, my biggest factor is that there's too much money out there.
Right.
When you don't have a standard and you can just say, shit's bad, let's print money. How do you do that, right? When you're paying somebody $20 to work at McDonald's, and I was paid $4 just 20 years ago to work at Sizzler, right? $4 an hour. And now you're getting paid 5 times the amount. Well, it would make sense to say that if I was getting paid $4 an hour there, and you're getting paid $20 an hour here, and it's 5 times, then that $100,000 house is now a $500,000 house. It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm saying. There's so much money pumped into the economy. I don't think it would be like everybody being millionaires.
Yeah.
If the prices of homes went to $200,000 tomorrow, there'd be people buying 3-4 of them.
It would get real. They would be really low priced for about a week, and then you'd get multiple offers over 100,000 over asking, and we'd be right back where we were.
And here's the other reason why I don't think this is something that's very different than 2006. Remember, I talked about the redistribution of wealth.
Yes.
Look at what Bitcoin's doing. Pay attention to Bitcoin and XRP and all this. All of a sudden, you have a select, and when I say select, probably 1% to 2% maybe of Americans own Bitcoin, and they've made a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
These people are wanting to invest. These people, that money has been redistributed and too many people have too much of it. So you tell me that a house starts to drop in price, okay? It starts to become affordable, right? A bubble burst. Houses start coming out. What happens to the people that are sitting there that are investors that they're going to jump on it before people that actually can afford it can get it.
Yeah.
You're going to be competing.
Cash is king.
Exactly.
They're going to smoke you on the deals.
Because of that, we rely on financing. People rely on leveraging their money. So I don't think that prices can come down too much because there's so much money in the market that I think there's enough people out there that have the ability to buy things, that want to reinvest and expand their portfolio, that as things drop, they're going to jump on it. And so it's just the low hanging fruits getting eaten up. I don't see the same thing happening to where you're going to take a $500,000 house today and it's going to be worth $300,000. I don't see that.
Yeah. I look at it and it's like we have modest price growth right now, under 5% per year, just like a slow, steady growth, which seems fairly healthy and normal.
Yeah.
We had that big bump that was artificially created in 2020 to 2022. It has since, I think we're seeing a little bit of that correction still, but it definitely corrected. And this is where we're at now. So I agree with you. I don't think, and people get on, I hear it all the time. It's like my fatalist friends who are like, the world is gonna just crumble any day now. And they've been saying that for 20 years. And it's like, it may at some point. I don't doubt that, but it may not in our lifetimes either.
Right.
And I think if you live in that world all the time of like, shit's gonna fall apart, like, I don't know if that's good for you.
Here's the other thing too, though. When you're relying on other people for your information, even us, right? Like, oh, let me listen to what they have to say. Right. If you're taking what we have to say as the most, that is law, you might start thinking like, hey, maybe if you're smart, if I have to rely on other people's data and their information, if I have to rely on Dave Ramsey to tell me how to do it, he's got a great program, right? But if you're having to rely on somebody else to do something, understand that you can be the pawn in all of this, right? Because if they're wrong, you lose and you're just out.
Yeah.
Here's the example. If you buy a house today, let's say your house is worth $1 million, and you sell it and you go buy another house in the same market for $1 million. Those houses are relatively worth the same. So you buy a house and the bubble bursts. So this is what happens to you, right? It bursts. Let's say it goes down 50%. All of a sudden you're sitting on a $500,000 house. Is that a bad thing? What if you want to move next year?
Yeah.
Do you know what's going to happen? You're going to sell your $500,000 house and you're going to go buy another $500,000 house. And you're going to find yourself in a position where you go, okay, we're still buying the same level of home, right? We're still managing our money and at least holding on to what's important to us. We need this square footage. We need this location. You can buy a similar product. But if you sell your $1 million house and you put it in the bank and you go, I'm going to collect interest for a bit and watch what happens, and then everything drops to 500,000, you won.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you won. But if you're wrong,
and it keeps going up.
It keeps trickling up, because what is the one historic thing about real estate?
It always goes up.
5% a year is the trend, right? You can see all the bubble bursts in there that you want, but if you draw a straight line from where it is today and where it was there, you still have a 5% average increase. Dude. So
yeah. For me, and this is where it comes down to, I guess, anecdotally, but when I just look at it as supply and demand. And damn it, when I say we get calls, texts, and emails every single day, we get them every day. And that's just our team, right? There are 1,200 agents in North Idaho.
Close to 2,000. Okay.
So, and granted, 90% of them don't do shit, but the 10% do. Well, my point is there's a lot of freaking people trying to move here for good reason. North Idaho is amazing. We have incredible freedoms. It's beautiful, all this stuff, right? So there's a good reason they're doing it. And with that buyer demand, it's just going to keep driving prices.
It is.
Hopefully slow and steady up and not a huge jump.
And the other thing, too, that I think has contributed to lower prices has definitely been an increase in infrastructure up here.
Yes.
Especially with contractors.
Yes.
Right? There was a point where you couldn't even get somebody, what was it, 2 years to dig a well?
Yeah. Yes.
Stupid.
Back in I would tell everybody that.
There's more well drillers now because they saw the call.
Now
there's more
like
contractors.
2 months.
Right. So now you have to compete again in pricing.
Yes.
So I think that's something that's also starting to steadily hold, or at least has brought down the prices a little more, because no longer is it $2,000 to drywall your garage. Now it's $1,600 because somebody needs the job, right? So that competition, and now that we have more people here that have those skills, I think that's also contributed to the cost of things up here.
Now, what do you think people who say, oh man, they're waiting for interest rates to drop significantly? What happens if they go to 3% again?
If they go to 3%, you're going to have a buying frenzy.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody's going to go nuts. So, but here's the cool thing. I just bought my home at 6.5%. Right. That sucks. Oh, well. But when it goes to 3%, guess who's not going to have to compete for my home? Me.
Yes.
I'm just going to refi it at 3%, and my payment's going to drop damn near in half.
Right.
So if they come down, yes, you can win both sides. You can win by getting a lower house payment, being able to afford more, or the home that you already bought for a lesser price because it wasn't a feeding frenzy. You now can refinance and your payment goes down. Here's the other problem with buying at 3%. I think we've talked about this before. You buy at 3%, are you ever going to refi?
No,
you're not. So guess what your monthly payment is? the same forever. So if you bought at your highest monthly payment, especially those of you retiring coming up here and you're on a fixed income, you buy it on your highest monthly income, $5,000 a month, you will always have to, out of your fixed retirement, pay $5,000 a month. But if you buy it, and by the way, the price of your house is going to be higher when you buy it because everybody's going to be going for it. If you buy it when the prices or the interest rates are high, I love this, and I just learned it, and I put my money where my mouth is because I just did it. If you buy at your maximum budget, your fixed income at $5,000 a month at 6.5%, and then in 5 years, let's push it out. 5 years, rates come down. 8 years, doesn't matter. They come down to 3%. The price of your home was still the price of your home. It was lower because it had higher interest rates. Now you drop your interest rate to 3%, and now all of a sudden you get back $1,500 a month on your fixed income.
It's like a pay raise right there.
It is.
It's beautiful.
It is a complete pay raise. So you do win if you buy at the interest rate that it's at, and then it comes down.
Yeah.
You just need to be, you need to be strategic on when you refi.
Yeah.
So
good thoughts. All right. Final thoughts. I think we both are in agreement. We don't see a bubble burst coming, and we're not just saying that someone's going to get on here and be like, well, it's because you sell real estate, blah, blah, blah.
Well, there's people that are smarter than us with freaking finances, but you know what?
Right.
If that person gives you the advice to wait and they're wrong, they don't care. And at the same time, that's why I gave the example of if you buy homes in the same market, you aren't going to lose your money. Yeah. If you got to sell for whatever reason and move somewhere else, then you go buy at that level, the same level you came in at.
And do what's right for your family. Everyone has different circumstances, right? And we counsel people on this frequently. Maybe it's not a good time to sell for you for whatever reason. Maybe it is. I don't know. Every situation is different.
And how often do we tell people, like, we don't even care we're not trying to force a home down your...
Frequently.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you want to, if it's not the right time for you, don't do it.
Yeah.
Because the last thing we want is somebody to call us and say, man, that was the biggest mistake. I shouldn't have bought that house because I went too fast or whatever.
Right.
Don't do that.
Right.
Take your time.
Take your time.
So yeah, I don't think a bubble burst.
Okay.
I think
there you have it.
I think a mild correction, and I think we're pretty much there. I'm starting to see prices start to come up again.
Yep. Same here. I would love to hear comments on that from our listeners out there. So if you have comments, nice ones, if you got nasty comments, do what your mama told you and keep it to yourself.
Send them to me so that because Seth doesn't let me
Dave
see
has
any
plenty
comments.
of time to argue with people. I already sobbed to myself in the shower every night because of these comments. So
at least you have a shower now.
Yeah, I do.
You're not
moving
bathing
on
in
up.
a 2-inch tub.
Moving on up. But we would love feedback on this. We're open to opinions. Like intelligent people, we will change our minds if you present good evidence. I'm open to that. But this is what we think. And like we said earlier, we are in this full time. We have a large real estate team in North Idaho. I would argue the best and most handsome. And this is our life. So it's important to us to provide accurate and good information. Happy to have those conversations.
And if you call us and Dave answers the phone, it's okay. Yeah, we work together. Every single person calls and they're like, oh, is this Seth? I'm like, no, it's not Seth.
So if you're thinking about calling, call and ask for Dave. Dave. He would love that. And you'd be in good hands because he's actually much smarter than me. So,
but we will pass a couple clients to you, Seth, so that you can do some real estate.
Thank you.
Instead of just shooting videos.
Make
all
me
the
feel
time.
good about myself. I appreciate it. Alrighty then. Hey, thank you guys for joining us. Hope you found this information useful. And remember, we should plug our custom home builders now. So we partnered up with some amazing dudes of similar backgrounds that have a lot of experience building custom homes. North Idaho Experience Custom Homes is the name. They are building my house right now. They're doing your addition.
Yep. They're doing my garage edition.
So killer dudes, we stand by them. That's why we brought them on with us. So if you guys are looking for that custom home build up here, we got you covered on that.
Yep.
Too.
Check that podcast out. We just did a podcast. It's coming out soon. It'll be out before.
Yep. It's out there already.
Cool. Check them out. Great guys. A lot of stuff that they're doing. And honestly, we trust them enough and we think they're phenomenal. So take a look at them. It's NIE Custom Homes for North Idaho Experience. There's also a link on our website. Check out their Facebook and give them a follow and a like if you guys wouldn't mind. And we appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Catch you next time.